we have on the other end the narcissist who wants to make sure that they're always coming up on top in any exchange. But then on the other end, we have this person who you're kind of describing who has a lot of shame, who also feels like they need to always never carry debt with someone else and always have other people in debt with them to compensate for how they feel. And it's like, I will not receive care. I will not let you get the bill. I feel this fear that things are transactional. And so I'm choosing generosity as a way of not allowing people to show up for me.
Welcome to My Therapist is Out. Each episode, we talk with a therapist from Open Space Therapy Collective or LGBT community members about mental health and building community. I'm your host, Renae Johnson, licensed therapist and founder of Open Space Therapy Collective, where we are your hub for queer and trans mental health care.
As we dive into today's topic, please keep in mind that this is a mental health podcast. We will talk about sensitive and difficult issues that are not appropriate for all audiences. Please take care while listening.
Welcome back to My Therapist is Out. I'm Renae Johnson, they, them, founder of Open Space Therapy, and I have one of my favorite people with me today, Allison Smith.
Hi, I am Allison Smith, she, they, licensed clinical social worker here at Open Space Therapy Collective.
So good to see you, and I'm so glad that we're doing the Q&A together, because I know we've been kind of talking throughout this series of different things that have been popping up, so it'll be nice to get that started to be a little more cohesive as we're pulling all the episodes together.
Yeah.
One of the things, so we're going to do a two-parter like we did for the last series, and one of the things that really came up in every single episode, which I'm not surprised by and still feels like a punch to the gut every time, is shame. And how much shame really shows up in every little aspect of our lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's really massive. It once that kind of moves in, it finds a way to kind of turn everything into itself, right? It has this beautiful duplicating ability. I was taking an improv class and the improv teacher was talking about the little Play-Doh machine where you put Play-Doh in and it always comes out like a certain shape. I feel like shame also has this ability to always everything is some confirmation and everything has this piece of it.
That is the perfect analogy.
This little Play-Doh machine,
Yeah.
Sorry I stole that. Rebecca Drysdale.
So let's dive into it. Shame can really be this buzzword, especially on social media, and it gets tossed around a lot. But we're talking about shame in really a clinical context. What do you talk to your clients about shame being and acting when you're starting to see it played out in their relationships?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things that I try to think of is what is it trying to do and whose is it? Those are sort of first things, because sometimes it feels like this voice is coming in and it's is that your own, or are we replaying, how did this get built? Because a lot of times it feels like a lot of this criticism and a lot of this comes from a place in which that was put there, added. And then also, what is it trying to do? I mean, I tend to think some of these things are trying to keep you safe. It's trying to keep you from being embarrassed. It's trying to keep you from getting too close to something or wanting something in a way that it's going to hurt you if you feel rejection. So trying to think about what that function is.
Yeah.
So we can see, is there a different way to do that or to answer that?
Yeah. As you're saying that, it's also making me realize how the shame, especially the language or the scripts that we end up playing for ourselves, are so old and happen so young and at such pivotal points that they feel like fact. Almost as oh, well, I checked my mail in the mailbox. I'm a bad person because I blah, 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 or, whatever it is, it doesn't even always feel or sound like it's an opinion until you really start digging into what's happening.
yeah, it's like a reflex more than it is a thought, right?
Totally.
And something also to think about is like, where is it still coming in from? I mean, are we really window proofed, or are we still in contact with people who are continuing to do the same thing? Because if you're used to that and love feels like it includes that, sometimes we find people that reenact that, that do that for us, that continue it. Sometimes we have a separation from that and we're doing it on ourselves, but there is, I think, a question of like, have you stopped putting yourself in situations that continue this
Mm-hmm.
noise?
Mm-hmm. What are some questions that somebody can ask themselves to start pulling apart if it's shame or something else?
I think in terms of like different things, I mean, this wouldn't be only true for shame, but sometimes I think about things in terms of like, is this pulling me closer to things or away from things, just in a general sense?
Mm.
Is this helping me be more flexible or more rigid, just in a general sense?
Mm-hmm.
Is this sort of stopping my thinking, or is this helping me to continue to think in new ways in a general sense? Like, is this a thing that whenever it shows up, sort of in stuff and then causes a retreat?
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's the case, like you were saying, this kind of reflexness, this ancient reflex, you're not actually making a choice about whether you want to be in this or not, or whether you want to handle criticism or not, or accountability or not, or disappointments that you've experienced or not. You're kind of automatically brought away.
Yeah. Which is different than guilt, right? Like
Hmm.
shame
Hmm.
is very, like you're saying, a reflex. And we know from a lot of neuroscience, there's parts of our brains that lights up and shut down when we are
Hmm.
specifically talking about shame and these like deep core closing and rigidity that can happen around that.
Yeah.
How is that different from guilt as somebody's like pulling on and questioning how they're responding to things?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's the like I am bad versus I feel bad sort of paradigm, but I think I still look at it as a towards or away. I mean, I think if you're feeling guilt, there's like a desire to come close or make repair or try to fix something. And sometimes that's not appropriate. Sometimes it is, right? I'm not saying that that's always the answer, but there is this like desire to go to fixing, to repair, to solving. And shame is sort of like, it isn't even worth it. I'm a burden. I'm a waste on everyone. Like, whatever I do, it's only worse. Everyone will be happy if I'm gone. Guilt doesn't quite have that same, I don't know, feeling to me.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more like I need to fix something.
Mm-hmm.
How, I mean, do they feel like that to you, or is there sort of a difference?
Yeah, totally. As you're talking about this, I was hanging out with my brother a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
and we were sitting at a picnic table, and like 3 minutes into the conversation, he accidentally bumps his giant hot coffee all over like my mint green outfit. And so I am covered from like clavicle down and like black hot coffee. And I was fine. It didn't hurt. But his response was like, oh shit. And like helped me clean up and got me a shirt from the cafe
Yeah.
and did all of that stuff. And then I teased him a little bit, but we kind of went on with our day. Where
Hmm.
if it would have been a shame trigger, he would have then gone, well, this means I'm bad. This means I can't socialize. This means that Renee's going to hate me. This means, and
Hmm.
there's all of this meaning making
Hmm.
that comes out of it that gets
Right.
into often a self-punishing or a way to make yourself or somebody else smaller.
Yeah. And what that might have looked like is literally him leaving, like
Mm-hmm.
being overwhelmed or not being able to deal with it, right? I mean, that I think that is a lot of the case, that there becomes all this avoidance with it. And what's a bummer is like that you, because you felt bad, you are also then not helping. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
now the other person also has to take care of you. So it's doing all the, it's sort of fulfilling exactly what you feared, which is that you're creating these tough social situations, because it kind of forces that it's like, I don't follow up with my friends, I don't reach out to people, I'm not reciprocal in relationships, I leave when things gets hard. Like, those things actually do hurt people, and those are the things that shame is asking you to do in a way, it's like it wants to prove its legitimacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's sort of some sick satisfaction in it, like being like, aha, I was right. And I'll keep going until I am right.
Yes. Well said. Pulling on the avoidance piece, one of the things that also came up a bunch is how much shame showed up in places that we didn't expect. And I'm just coming off doing the episode with Patrick, so that's at the front of my mind.
Yeah.
But he really brought in how much shame dictates how people use their finances and their relationship with money, and how a lot of queer folks will use money to overperform or to spend to be included, or fully avoid and shut down and hoard out of like fear that it's not enough. And neither one of those are like logical ways on how to manage your money. Those are both shame responses to the relationship with money that is coming from some other experience telling you that you need to perform to fit in, or you need to hoard to be safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's like everything is very scarce and everything is very fixed, and which is tough. But I'm also thinking about, the ways in which generosity and kind like all the ways that generosity can exist, right? I mean, it can exist with money, it can exist with charisma, it can exist with favors, it can exist with acts of service. How that's like such a genuinely deeply fulfilling thing, and it can also turn to this distorted thing in which it's like, I think I need to have an uneven score with everyone. Like we have on the other end the narcissist who wants to make sure everyone is in that they're always coming up on top in any exchange. But then on the other end, we have this like person who you're kind of describing who has a lot of shame, who also feels like they need to always never carry debt with someone else and always have other people in debt with them to compensate for how they feel. And it's like, I will not receive care. I will not let you get the bill. I feel this fear that things are transactional. And so I'm choosing generosity as a way of not allowing people to show up for me, because that would make me feel a lot of shame that maybe I'm going to be abandoned because it's like a burden, and now it's a double burden to like be with me.
Yeah. It's also, if you're growing up with somebody who is a narcissist
Yeah.
and you are in a relationship dynamic from very young where everything actually is transactional,
Right.
you're going to learn that really fast. And so the moments where in your relationship with your parents, and one or both of them are more narcissist leaning, and you relax or you expect care because they're your parent, and they're going to switch that, and there's going to be all these strings attached that you didn't expect or didn't know or didn't need. So even you'll get shame there, but you'll also get like, this isn't safe if I'm indebted to somebody. And so there's none of these things when we're talking about shame or guilt or safety are ever on their own. There's always been diagrams here where they're attached to a bunch of other things.
Yeah. So what it looks like is like, oh, I need to help this like kind of not that close acquaintance move. I need to be doing like really too much. And on my end, if I need something, like there's absolutely no way that I would ask. And it creates this distortion because people are, one, it's kind of suspicious sometimes. And also there's not people bond with you also when they give you care, not just when they receive things from you. And so there's a limiting factor in terms of the types and amount of closeness. Like you're kind of wanting to have this role, but you're not letting other people have this space. So someone who is healthy with you, who they want to give and receive, you wouldn't be able to be with someone like that because you are not allowing them to give because you cannot receive. So then we end up in that similar dynamic to the one that we started in sometimes, because that's who can tolerate that.
We also see in our careers, like how many mental health folks or healthcare folks or teachers are coming from dynamics where they want to be in service, and it's it's
Right.
covered in all of the sugar and spice.
All.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, all.
But it's because it's more comfortable to be in a place of giving than
Right.
it is to be in a place of even exchange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard. And what's tough is like, there's something about, I do think like we model, like our actions speak so much more than our words in so many situations. I think especially socially, I think especially in relationships. And we end up in, again, this kind of suspicious zone where we're saying, it's really great. You can let me do the dishes for you. You can receive, you can do this. But our actions are saying, receiving is really gross and embarrassing, and I would never do that. And only somebody really gross and embarrassing would do that, and I definitely wouldn't do that. And so there's this mixed signal going out to other people, which is that, like, I totally think this is good for you, but whenever I think about it for me, I'm like actually disgusted. And I swear I'm not thinking that about you. Please don't notice this. And, you know, I mean, if you've ever been in like a situation, I don't know, where like everyone's in a waiting room or whatever, and it's so uncomfortable, but it's like the person that talks or asks the question, it actually breaks that room. So now everyone can do it. It's so, it feels so like I'm being the embarrassing one, but it's so generous because you're giving, by being vulnerable, you're giving other people a chance to do it too. There's sort of a limit.
So like the perfect environment for resentment to come in. And, you know, the Gottmans talk about like the 4 horsemen that kill the relationship, and resentment is a big one. And so if you are always giving, it'll be fine until you're feeling burnt out. And the other person is used to you not being able to receive, so they don't. And then you're burnt out and resentful that you've been doing all of this stuff and your partner's not meeting you there, or your friends aren't meeting you there, or your job doesn't love you back.
Yeah, I forget who it was about like that sort of like pursuer distancer relationship. Like it's the most functional. If the pursuer kind of gets tired, the distancer will come meet them. Like there has to be this ability to switch when needed, and not it only is one way. But also like Brene Brown, I think, said about resentment that it doesn't come from anger, it comes from envy. And I think about that a lot because I think you often do see the situation where it's like, I'm doing everything in the house, and the other person's sitting and playing video games. And it is also, maybe it wasn't Brene Brown. I don't know. But anyway, but there is this feeling of like, I wish I could let myself relax. And that's what I'm mad at that person for. It's not that they're not doing what I'm doing. That's part of it. But a bigger part is I don't give myself permission to do what they're doing. And having to see it and having to be around it only reinforces my belief that I'm not allowed to like enjoy things or take breaks or whatever that is. And so I think I do like to always look for the envy component about what is it that that person's doing that you wish you would allow yourself to do.
Yes.
And can you just do it? Actually, like, are they actually stopping you, or are you just don't feel that it works?
Hey, Renae popping in just for a minute to say thank you for listening. We really hope you are enjoying the conversation today. Any chance you have to rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend makes a huge impact, and we greatly appreciate it. If you have extra bandwidth and want to support the show even further, you can go to mytherapistisout.com and click the donate button. Any donations from $5 a month to a one-time donation makes a huge difference for us. We're a little self-published podcast, so any extra dollar helps. Again, go to mytherapistisout.com and hit donate. Now back to the show.
Let's pivot to sex, because we talked a lot about sex and shame throughout the series. And as queer folks, we're very used to those two things being talked about. What are ways that people are still avoiding shame in their sex lives or in their sexuality? Because it's something that we feel really acutely, but we talk about in real language and real ways, probably the least.
Yeah. Sex is so complicated, you know? Like, there's that joke that like everything's about sex except sex, which is about power. Like, and so for some reason, there's all these ways that we interact with people that then sometimes it's the opposite, or we can't be, or, I mean, you really are so exposed and close with someone, and also the pressure around it, how often you're having it, what kind you're open to. Are you just doing a performance of it, or is that actually how you feel? And will you ever figure out the difference, and do any of us before we die? I don't know, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it seems to feel like that validation, that value, the shame of not being enough or not being quite right. It's like very sharp there. That you want too much, you don't want enough. Like, I mean, it kind of hits you from every angle, it feels like.
Yeah.
How do you see this with clients? Like,
I get a lot of like self-denial in the way people engage with sex. Is either everything is fine, yep, and then just keep it moving and don't even allow themselves to like sit and explore and really be in who they are, what they are, what they want, or they will find a partner who may be more comfortable with it, so they'll just do whatever the partner wants to do.
mm-hmm.
And it as we're talking about really being in your body to know what you want in sex, you have to be in touch with your body. And so many people will like yeet right out the second shame shows up, that
Right.
they're not even connected anymore. And so they're just doing the performance, or they're just watching themselves have sex and be like, yeah, I think that's what this should be, instead of even allowing themselves the space to explore it.
Yeah, that feeling of like, I shouldn't even be able to be noticed, or I mean, it's so tough because there's so much like being perceived, right?
Mhm.
It's like super being perceived the most. Like, you don't have like your clothes, you don't have all the other things that you can kind of hide behind. I mean, there's ways to add that or not add that, but in general, right? There's a lot of feelings about like, how am I being viewed, and how is this other person having this experience? And I'm supposed to simultaneously not be totally consumed with what I think their experience is and have my own experience. And we're supposed to do that at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Pretty crazy that it ever happens, actually, you know?
Both people don't just give up and walk away.
Yeah, or that this is supposed to always be simultaneous to some extent, right? I mean, I know that like the acts of it, but I feel like I have a lot of clients. I feel like I see a lot of people who have these like extra steps because their caregivers were immature or dysregulated or whatever. They weren't good at regulating them. And so there's, instead of like, I have a need and then I answer it, or I ask for help because I needed help, there's like these extra steps of I have to go mess with this other person and see how they're doing first, and then figure out what they need. And then I'm going to have some like trickle down economics of like whatever my need being met. But I don't even experience it as me needing something. I experience it as feeling compelled to go fuss with a different person.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have this like really complicated like Rube Goldberg machine where the ball is like going down the stairs and then it's going, I mean, it's not just like going into the cup. It's like, and now a baseball bat fell, and now a bunch of dominoes, and now like there's all these steps. How, when you're supposed to do something as like direct as sex and stay in your own pleasure and not have it turn into a thought of imagining someone else's experience when that's what you're reinforcing all day, every day. Really tough.
Yeah. There's also a piece where like people are like, well, I'm an adult, so I should have this figured out and I should know how to do sex and it should be great all of the time. It's like, nah, sometimes
Sure.
it's bad. Sometimes like communication's off. Sometimes one person feels good about it and the other person doesn't. Sometimes it's a flop and it doesn't work. But you don't know until you're vulnerable enough with somebody else and yourself to be figuring it out together in the moment. And that can change from Tuesday to Wednesday.
Right. The exchange is not about like accomplishing a certain thing. It's just like of the trying of it all. Like it's the Legos of it all. Like you put a piece, I put a piece. Like who knows if this ends up as a cup or not? It was just an experience. And like, yeah, I do think there are these feelings where there can be like success or unsuccess rather than just like the working together. It's really tough. And yeah, there is that feeling of like, yeah, I should have it all figured out and be like really cool and really hot and like really interesting. And now I never want to have it because that feels hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you don't actually have to do all those things. But I also think about like American society is really, really, really deeply puritanical, period.
Yeah.
Like, it is for young people, it is for old people, it is for queer people, it is for straight people. Like, there's some idea of like, okay, I've come out and now I'm not affected by like the light rays of that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
When obviously, like, there are a lot of folks in the queer community that do not want to receive touch at all, right? Like, that's part of it. Like, we have names for that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not an indictment of whether that's okay or not okay. It's more like that's a very specific type of experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these things end up very one-sided or whatever. They don't have to be mutual. But what we take to be self-insight is sometimes like a crystallizing of a position in things rather than a flexibility of continuing to be able to explore.
Yeah.
And that there's costs and benefits that we pay when we make these choices.
Yeah. So what helps as people are starting to think about shame, think about the relationships, look
Mm-hmm.
at like, okay, maybe all the relationships I grew up with are pretty toxic. And how do
Sure.
I pivot and move the needle so they're moving in a more healthy direction? This can be overwhelming, but what are some like small things that people can start to do?
Yeah. I mean, I think to some extent, like slowing things down a little bit and trying to notice and have some curiosity about those thoughts is helpful because I think sometimes you really can quickly just be like, that's my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't trust her and her opinions are bad and her opinions about my body are bad.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as easy to like, that solves everything, but I do think it's a little helpful to know that this isn't some secret voice of the truest wisdom that has come to like give you the greatest answers. I really like to have a practice of being uncomfortable. Um and I think as a therapist, I choose to in my life continue to have a practice of being uncomfortable because I don't think it's right for me to tell people to do it and not do it. And I also hate it like all humans do. Um but like I'll take a clown class or I'll try to be in the act of like learning things that make me feel exposed and nervous and having that feeling as its own goal and starting to treat that feeling as its own sense of accomplishment instead of a sign
Mm-hmm.
of retreat, because then you're building up more tolerance around that space and kind of changing your relationship to it, which is like, oh, this is hard and I'm going through something hard and there's something really brave and really cool about that, rather than this is a sign that I always should stop and I should always reinforce that it actually saved my life to not do it
Mm-hmm.
and never try again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that really gets to the core of therapy, right? Like, one of the
Sure.
main things, and I don't think this gets talked about enough, is the point of therapy is to expand your emotional bandwidth and your emotional
Right.
capacity. Not that you're always feeling great or you're always feeling bad, but you have the ability to be in all of the emotional experiences and still stay grounded in yourself. Like, that is
Yeah.
the goal. You don't go to therapy and everything in life is great. You go to therapy and you will still experience shame, but you will,
Sometimes you get more sensitive to it.
yeah, totally.
But you also get this other end of, I mean, nobody ever is like, I would go back and make the other trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you get that touchstone and that consistency of the true you or the core you that isn't shame and is a lot closer to like calm and grounded and proud and connected and flexible than I don't do this, I do this. This is bad, this is good. I'm allowed to do these things or not those things.
Yeah, it's very like that growth mindset of like the struggling and trying and learning are the attributes, not you just are smart and that's a fixed thing. And then if you do anything that makes you not feel smart, you should actually stop. And then we should give up more because then we're going to expose ourselves as a fraud somehow. You can't be a fraud at being who you are. I mean, and we are quite flexible, but one of the biggest, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, but it was like, one of the things, if you're going to have PTSD or something, what you will have is avoidance. You will have it. That's part of it. It's basically a required part of it, because when we seek pleasure, we avoid pain. When things hurt, we go away from it. When we've had a lot of hurt, our world just starts to shrink down smaller and smaller, because there's less and less things that feel safe. And it's about trying to make deliberate choices about making it bigger in ways that are comfortable, so that it doesn't go down to like, I'm so safe that I've never gone outside again. That would be really safe. And also it would be really dangerous in other ways, and in our social ways, and all these other needs that we have.
Yeah.
We really have a lot of social needs. I'm sorry, I'm going on a little rant about this because I can't stop talking about it, but I've started watching the TV show Alone. You know this one?
I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it yet.
No one needs to watch it, but basically they take like 10 people, they just like drop them off in the Arctic, and they're like, survive, but they're like miles away from each other. Like the isolation and the mental part of it is like what really has an effect, which people should not go. The prize money is really not worth the effects of like what you've done to your metabolism in your mind, and no one should go on this show. I'll just say that. But the thing about it is that there is this like ego collapse, that happens because we are just like not made to not have attention interaction with other people. And even a lot of these people who are very avoidant and very feel self-reliant, like that level of actual isolation still hits them like a truck.
Yeah.
And we forget that our social pieces are nourishing. And I think in the ways that we were talking before, when you're kind of engaging in social relations in a way as a spectator, not mutually, it is like its own form of starvation. And we don't always think that that's as important as other stuff. Actual solitude is a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, it's what they do in the worst types of prisons to make people go insane.
It's a form of torture, right? Shame tells us to do it to ourselves.
It does. And that social component gets so devalued. And there's a patriarchy rant I could go on, but I'm going to keep myself from doing that. But it's the core of everything. I mean, that's part of why we will always and continue to talk about, like, therapy is great, but you need a community around you. It's because you need that social holding and that exchange to be healthy. And those relationships aren't a landmine waiting to blow up. Those relationships are what keep you alive and moving.
And they might blow up.
Sure.
But it's still good. It's still good.
If you stay in connection to the healthy parts of yourself, you will grow from that. And it will either, like, you'll be able to repair with that person, or you'll be able to adapt in different relationships.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think when the fearfulness, the anxiety, the shame, it's really high, we kind of find our own exits from a lot of relationships, from a lot of groups, from a lot of things. And then sometimes you go down to this really low level where it's like, I really just know one person that I really trust, And I call that the rebuilding season, because every team has to have a rebuilding season sometimes. And it is true that those next few relationships feel really high risk and really precious. But at some point, if you continue this practice of being uncomfortable enough and acquiring things enough, then you should have enough protective factors that if something happens over here, you still have people to talk to over here. You have, again, a community to catch you when you fall. Like you are able to, but it is one at a time, And when it's just one, it feels like when this explodes, I'm going to die. And it's like, you won't, we got you. But soon it'll be 2 or 3 or 4. And then you'll have that when you have this.
Yeah. And that is a perfect way to end the episode and plug Queerly Connected. So this comes out on Wednesday, the 19th. On Sunday, the 23rd, Queerly Connected
Come talk to us.
Is at Silver Lake in Los Angeles at the Sunset Triangle Plaza from noon to 4. Come hang out. It is free. There will be lots of people there. Everybody that comes is a big sweetie. You can go to free workshops. Sure. You can talk to Allie or I. You can get a massage. You can get tarot reading. You can get a tattoo. Like you can play cornhole. Like you name it, it's available for you. And a bunch of new potential friends to meet and chat with. So come fill your cup.
Yeah, it's such a good like first step to just be like, okay, I'm just going to do a 15-minute workshop. Like I'm just going to do something where I interact with people and I do something I wouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. That's an accomplishment for the day.
Absolutely.
Massively.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting with me for part 1. We'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about part 2. If you haven't listened to the series yet, please do. Allie has an episode about what toxic actually means. So dives into the things that creates shame or that shame create. And we cover everything from sexuality to friends to money to health and all over the place. So go listen to those and we will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, Allie.
Bye.
Hi, my name is Asia Kai Rowley. My pronouns are they, them, and my queer moment of joy was starting testosterone 6 months ago.
My name is Emmy, my pronouns are she, her, and my queer moment of joy is when I fisted a guy who said he was straight, but then he turned out to be gay. That's my queer moment of joy.
Thanks for joining us. If you're in California and looking for a therapist, visit our website at openspacetherapycollective.com and book a free intro call with one of our therapists. If you're enjoying My Therapist Is Out, please rate, review, and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Do you know somebody who could use a little extra dose of queer community? Send them one of your favorite episodes of My Therapist Is Out and help our collective grow one listen at a time. My Therapist Is Out is an open space therapy collective podcast, and our podcast editing is done by Rachel Peltzer and Smash and Grab Studio. We'd love to hear from you about today's topic, so email us at info@openspacetherapycollective.com. You can find us on TikTok and Instagram at Open Space Therapy Collective. Thanks for listening.